Hello and welcome to Time About the Movies Flashback. Today we're flashing back to February 5th, 1988, with three notable films, and we'll start off with the biggest of the new releases. That's Wes Craven's latest horror film, starring Bill Pullman, based off the book of the same name, and that is The Serpent and the Rainbow.
Wes Craven, director of A Nightmare on Elm Street.
There's a door to the mystery. And you just walk through it.
Comes the ultimate nightmare.
Somebody brought him back from the grave, and I want to know
How they did it.
Don't let them bury me. I'm not dead.
Wes Craven's The Serpent and the Rainbow. Rated R. Now playing at theaters everywhere.
I mean, just the marketing as a whole was great for this movie. Unfortunately, I can't show the full trailer, but man, that trailer is bizarre, but kind of cool at the same time. I mean, you got a lot of the same stuff that's in this trailer, except in this commercial I just showed, except that there's much more, like, insanity to it. Like, you see Bill Pullman getting leaped on by, I think, that same woman who's eating the glass, and then there's a scene where he's, like, getting, like, sucked into, like, a vacuum with this eagle sound effect in the background. It's a weird-ass movie. But, man, it's a fun, weird-ass movie. And this is, of course, like I said, based off the book of the same name, where you have this ethnobotanist, good lord, ethnobotanist, hold on one second, ethnobotanist, good lord, I wasn't gonna restart that again, but Wade Davis, wherein Davis recounts his experiences in Haiti investigating the story of Clairvius Narcisse, who was allegedly poisoned, buried alive, and revived with a herbal brew which produced what was called a zombie. In this case, you have a Harvard anthropologist, Dennis Allen, played by Bill Pullman, who gets put into that same situation. And Paul Winfield's also in here as well. Creepy design overall. And for Wes Craven, this was one of his films after Nightmare on Elm Street put him on the map pretty much. He'd done like The Hills Have Eyes 2 and then Deadly Friend before he got to this movie. It's a very creepy film. It has a lot of aspects that are very intensifying, special effects that are pretty cool. The story is kind of generic overall, but it knows how to terrify the hell out of you. And this is back when, we didn't have computers or CGI blood. Like, they actually had the balls to show you some of this stuff. Like the scene where Bill Pullman's literally buried in blood. It's just like, who else wouldn't scream like hell like that? I mean, this is a pretty damn good movie, man. Even if you're not a big horror fan, this is definitely one of those movies that Wes Craven... definitely one of Wes Craven's more underrated movies, honestly. It's a movie that really is very chilling, really is very terrifying, and just... It's well done. It's a very good film. I highly recommend it. The Serpent and the Rainbow. So with that said, let's move on to our next movie, and that is John Hughes' latest film, coming only a few months after Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Kevin Bacon and Elizabeth McGovern in She's Having a Baby.
Two simple words.
Well,
From then on, nothing is simple.
will thou provide her with credit cards, a Mercedes-Benz, 2 weeks in the Bahamas every spring? Will thou listen patiently to long stories about kids' coals and decorate your sick with cupboards?
Kevin Bacon.
I will.
Elizabeth McGovern.
You may now kiss the bride.
A comedy about the labor of life.
But don't mess up her hair or her face.
She's Having a Baby. Rated PG-13. Starts Friday, February 5th at a theater near you.
See, that's Kevin Bacon's karma for stealing Steve Martin's taxi in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. There has been a theory about whether or not Kevin Bacon's character from this movie is actually the same character in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles at the beginning when he's trying to look for a cab in New York City. Although if you watch that movie carefully, there's a scene later on where Steve Martin's wife is watching this movie on television. I guess she's got a TV from the future apparently. And in fact, there's a lot of connections to other John Hughes movies. Like in the credits for this, you have the couple talking about what to name their son as a montage of family members, people they know, like Robin Craig, Chet Ripley, or Buck Ripley, and from The Great Outdoors, and then Ferris Bueller from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and an assortment of different actors are pitching the suggestion of boys' names and shown before setting on the name Christopher. And there's a lot of people in the end credits. It's a stacked end credits segment. It's just like, why is this necessary? I mean, I've got the list right here, and it's pretty impressive what they were able to do here. You got Kirstie Alley, Harry Anderson, Dan Aykroyd, Matthew Broderick as Ferris Bueller, John Candy, Diane Cannon, Belinda Carlisle, Stuart Copeland, Ted Danson, Judy Evans, Bob Fraser, Woody Harrelson, Robert Hayes, Amy Irving, Magic Johnson, Michael Keaton, Joanna Kearns, Elias Koteas, Penny Marshall, Bill Murray, Olivia Newton-John, Roy Orbison, Cindy Pickett, Bronson Pinchot, Annie Potts, John Ratzenberger, Ali Sheedy, Lyman Ward, Will Wheaton, Chris Young, Warren Zevon. Why are they all doing this? I mean, it's a weird... This is a weird movie, man. It's a simple concept overall, where you have the story of a young newlywed couple who try to cope with married life and their parents' expectations. It's funny because Kevin Smith has called this as one of his favorite movies and actually uses this as the inspiration for his next movie that I'm getting to on time about the movies, Jersey Girl, which will be on the next episode. And he's even said that it's his favorite John Hughes film, and he cites it as a template for Jersey Girl, joking that both films were financially unsuccessful. And this was a film that was very much unsuccessful, and especially when you consider that Planes, Trains, and Automobiles really was the film that set John Hughes away from the teenage angst movies that he was doing with like The Breakfast Club and Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and showed him going into more adult territory. And then you have this movie that's literally following afterwards, and it just feels like a film that's just really kind of simple and straight to the point. And it just feels kind of out of the norm for John Hughes. There's nothing about this movie in particular that really is definitely John Hughes' style. Any director probably could have made this movie, and you really would not have been able to tell the difference. Like, you don't go to a John Hughes movie to see that, though. You go to see a John Hughes movie to see his style of filmmaking, and that's in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. It's a different movie than what he's used to doing, but it's very much in something. It's a lot of the same elements that are in something like, you know, The Breakfast Club or 16 Candles or Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Like, that's a film that's a better example of these adult movies he was making at the time. But this was the one that just felt. This is one that just kind of felt very generic. And really, you could have gotten any other person to direct this movie, and you wouldn't have been able to tell the difference from it. It's not that it's a bad movie, per se. It's just a film that really does not give you what you'd expect from the director behind it, of course. And, you know, just in general, like, you feel like there's so much more potential with what they could have done here with this, but it just wasn't there. And I feel like John Hughes kind of was sleepwalking through this one. And this was right around a time when anything he did was pretty much instant gold. Like I said, 16 Candles, Breakfast Club, Weird Science, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Uncle Buck. I mean, he's only made 2 directorial efforts that were not great films, and this is one of those. This is the other one besides Curly Sue, and it definitely shows. It's a shame because John Hughes is such a good screenwriter as a whole and a good director as a whole, and this really just feels like he was half-assing it, and it was just kind of like, why'd you even bother to make this movie then? You really could have handed this off to somebody else and wouldn't have made much of a difference in the end. I mean, that's just my personal take on it, per se. So that is She's Having a Baby. Let's go ahead and wrap this up with The Unbearable Lightness of Being from Philip Kaufman. Of course, directed by the same man who would later give us Henry and June, the first NC-17 rated film. This is very much an erotic drama, but not in the way of a Basic Instinct, but a drama that is made, an adult drama that's made specifically for adults that is very much an erotic one as well. And you have Czechoslovakian artistic and intellectual life during the Prague Spring, and the effect on the main characters of the communist repression that resulted from the Warsaw Pact invasion in 1968. And this is based off of a book of the same name, an adaptation of the 1984 book of the same name, featuring Daniel Day-Lewis in one of his early film roles, as well as Juliette Binoche and Lena Olin. A very stylized film in general. And Philip Kaufman, like I said, did Henry and June, which is one of the few really good erotic dramas. And this is definitely one of those films that deserves to be right up in that same category. It's very intense. It's a very passionate film. It's a film that has a lot of great chemistry between the leads, a great visual style to it. It's just a really well put together film. Not much more I can really say about this one, since it's been a while since I've seen it, but from what I remember from it, I really liked it a lot, and it's a very good film. I highly recommend it. The Unbearable Lightness of Being. And so with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies Flashback, and guess what? We've got another week where there's literally no new releases out, except for Gandahar, but I've already looked at that movie on Time About the Movies as part of the 1989 leftovers. But we'll head over to January 22nd on the next episode with 6 movies, including Braddock Missing in Action 3, Five Corners, The Telephone, Promised Land, The Family, and King Lear. Assuming I can actually find footage for most of these movies. I'm pretty sure I can find one for Missing in Action 3, but the other ones I think are going to be very hard to find, but I'll do my best to try to get you something for next week. If not that, then something else. But with that said, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode. Also, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So with that said, I'm off. I will see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.